cafe. Anyway.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Episode 2049. Mike Matthews with a show called
Mike's Daily Podcast.
I have a show called Mike's Daily Podcast, and I also have the website. It's mikesdailypodcast.com. Go there. It's tight. You can see if people still use that expression anymore, and there's lots of cool pictures. The podcast picture there is what that's for, and also you can listen to the show through a myriad of ways at
Mike's Daily Podcast.
at mikesdailypodcast.com. So that's what's there in the podcast world with
Mike's
Daily what?
Podcast.
Okay.
Yeah!
So, did you hear that Bob Wheaton died? Bob Wheaton, the oldest man in the world, died at 112 from cancer. God, I hate cancer. It killed even the oldest man. Couldn't it just have let him go? Let him live a little longer? What the heck? He was a kind, knowledgeable conversationalist. Hey, that's what I want to be. What the heck? Trump rule changes will allow Alaskan hunters to kill bear cubs in their dens. Okay. However, the National Park Service and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service say that the decision better aligns with them. Okay. I would have that full story for you, but then what do you call it? That thing pops up that says, "Oh, your ad blocker won't allow us to feed you a bunch of obnoxious ads. That's how we get into money and stay in the business."
And here's today's podcast picture.
Staying in the business. The National Park Service is reversing regulations written by the Barack Obama administration, which bans some of the much criticized practices for hunting the predators, including luring bears with food like donuts. Seriously. And that's also how you lure the elusive Homer bear. Go! And then the Park Service's Deputy Director David Vela said the change would more closely align hunting. Here we go. Yes, Basil, I know you like to hunt. Now you hunt only in your dreams. Now, only in your dreams. As funny as it may seem, Basil's barking in his dreams. Isn't it great when dogs bark as they're dreaming? It's the coolest thing. That's not the podcast picture, though. I'll tell you what that is. Just hold on. Hold on. Okay, so yeah. David Vela said the change would more closely align hunting and trapping regulations with those established by the state of Alaska. Dan Sullivan, the Republican senator from Alaska, said the revision was needed not only as a matter of principle, but as a matter of states' rights. Forget about the little bear cubs' rights. It's time for states' rights. He said the Obama rule was implemented without adequate tribal consultation, in disregard to rural Alaska's dependence on wild food resources, threatening centuries-long sustainable management practices. And that's all I will say about that, everybody. Because I know we all have opinions about cute little Fuzzy Wuzzy bears. And Fuzzy Wuzzy was a bear. But I heard Fuzzy Wuzzy had no hair. Fuzzy Wuzzy wasn't so wuzzy, Fuzzy Wuzzy. However, that dang... I messed up that expression. Eli Roth. Oh, doesn't he do the really violent type movies? I guess Cate Blanchett will star in his Borderlands. What is that, a movie or a TV show? Okay. And the lady that has been dating Shawn Mendes, Camila Cabello, I play her music when I am on the KKDV radio station on the Sundays. You can find a link at mikesdailypodcast.com to that. She reveals that she has a struggle with OCD. So you are not alone. It is very common, more than 3 million cases per year in the U.S. It involves repetitive actions that seem impossible to stop. For example, listening to this podcast. Maybe you are stuck on, you have to listen to this podcast. I was watching an episode of Psych yesterday, that show, what was it on TBS back in the day? I forget the actors that are on that show. It's fun in that they get a lot of people from the 80s movies that were popular. Ralph Macchio from Karate Kid's on there. The entire cast of Breakfast Club. Aw, Cub. So kind. Little cub. Little bear cub. But, yeah, that show has its funny moments. It had Kurt Smith from Tears for Fears, one of my favorite 80s bands, there on the show. But some episodes are just terrible, and there's so many references to things that I have no idea what they're talking about, that I end up hating the episode. But I watch it to the end. I don't know if that's an OCD disorder thing, but man. And by the way, saying OCD disorder, you've just repeated yourself, because the D in OCD is disorder. So clean that mistake up first before you clean everything in your house, because you got OCD. But it often requires a lab test or imaging. Interesting to see if you have it. Treatment from medical professionals are advised, and it can last several years can be lifelong. And this, according to Bing. Just looked it up on the Bing website. As we go outside a cafe anyway, we're bringing Mike's Daily Podcast. I'm on Podcastro Valley. Bing. I gave them a plug, now I'm going to give them a slug. And it works. When it works, it works. But you get rewards, so that's cool. And I got to use some of mine, because I've been racking them up, y'all, by finding out stuff like about OCD. Symptoms can be either obsessions or compulsions. And what's the difference between an obsession or a compulsion? Does it matter? Why don't we just put them together and make a combustion or an compulsion? Some symptoms can be mild and gradually progress in severity. Stress makes it worse. That's right. I think, and you know what? I may have a little of this, because I do realize that I do get worse with it, with the stress. I don't know. I've never been diagnosed with it, but something tells me I might have a little bit of it. Who knows? Persistent, repeated, and unwanted thoughts. Urges or images that are intrusive. Compulsive or ritualistic behavior to get rid of the thoughts. Treatments aim at reducing symptoms rather than curing the disease. It may include psychotherapy or medications. So treatment, psychotherapy, medications. You got to reduce the symptoms. You can't really cure it. Wonderful. Here's what causes it. I know you're interested. It changes one of the things is changes in the chemistry and functioning of the brain. Here's I think this is a huge, I'm not a doctor, I'm not an expert, but deep in my gut, I feel that family history has a lot to do with it. What happened growing up can lead to it. Environmental factors such as certain infections can trigger it. Infections like streptococcal infections. Stressful events in life can cause it. Other mental illnesses such as depression or anxiety. And substance or alcohol abuse. So maybe drop the alcohol and you'll be less OCD. Excuse me, I bumped my head against this tree. It just appeared out of nowhere. Dang tree. I'm going to hug the tree now just because I'm so mad at it. Some of the medications they use, by the way, are antidepressants like clomipramine, fluoxetine, and sertraline. I am talking like I am not a English speaker in a way. I'm talking backwards first, then you're playing this back frontwards? Is that what that voice is? Okay, I know that's odd. Let me start this next sentence by saying this is going to be National Men's Health Month next month, which starts very soon in June. It's coming up just around the corner. And as part of national health, let's just say it's quite common for men to adopt a tough guy mentality and brush off nagging health issues. Sorry, I'm just trees hugging me back. Either hoping they'll get better on their own or resign themselves to their supposed fate and avoid seeking medical care. But men need to listen to what their bodies are telling them. Think of it as a car. Go to the doctor if there's an acute issue. Use a balanced diet, exercise, work-life balance for long-term maintenance. You are a car. While the primary care physician can address many first-line health concerns, some conditions may require a specialist. In addition to cancer and other issues, like an enlarged prostate, urinary tract infections, prostatitis, kidney stones, and sexual dysfunction, can greatly affect a man's quality of life, as you can imagine. And, well, I won't go into all the symptoms of all that stuff, but anyway, I found that fascinating. And the headline to this article is, "Being a tough guy may not be the best plan." And let's see here. The U.S. Preventative Services Task Force in 2012 released recommendations against prostate-specific antigen, a protein made by prostate cells. And that's for screening prostate cancer, and strongly discouraged use of the test. Those recommendations have been revised since May of 2018 with age-specific recommendations. It's not a one-formula-fits-all situation. The screening guidelines can at times oversimplify. Talk to your doctor to find out more. But I pulled this article from the What's Happening Tri-City Voice, and believe it or not, this article that I'm reading is like a year old. But since June is almost here, it works. It works. Now I can throw it away because it's been sitting on my desk for over a year. And that's why I clean off my desk, my messy desk. Hey, that was the name of my first podcast, The Messy Desk. But I think somebody stole that. Now we got the Tiny Desk concerts. Some of those are pretty good. Except the idiot that ran one of them was Pat Benatar. Was trying to remember the lyrics to a song because somebody requested it. And I'm like, oh, okay, you do an internet-only show, you producer guy. You probably can go on the internet and find the lyrics for her, and then she can sing it. And he was just sitting there going, duh, wah, wah, oh. NPR. Is that an NPR thing, Tiny Desk? Yeah. Some of the people there kind of stupid. They get fast-tracked because they said enough liberal things to their boss, and then, ba-ding, hired. That's what you got to do. Got to be as liberal as possible, and then you get hired over there. Unless you're too liberal, and then they put you on Pacifica. And then you're like Jimmy Dore or something, and then that gets all kinds of crazy. But I did listen to his show quite a bit, and then I got a little upset when he went anti-Hillary, which at this point I would probably have gone, yeah, I guess he was right about some of the stuff he said, but it was interesting when he went anti-Hillary. I was thinking, don't you want to be pro-Hillary? But he wasn't. He was pro-Bernie, and you know how that all went 4 years ago. And now we got the Biden. Oh, boy. Don't you just love politicians right now, in general? You may love Biden. I don't think you love politicians. You may like one particular person, but you may not like any more than that. But I'll tell you who I like. I like the people outside a cafe anyway, located somewhere in Podcastro Valley. Let's say hi to some of them. Hello, Michael Master. It's Madame Rootabega. I was petting your dog. He was looking so funny because he was barking in his sleep. Ooh. That's right. Did he start to drool a little bit? Yes. Did he start licking his chops like this? That annoys a lot of people. Did it annoy you? Yes. Are you gonna get a dog? No. Why not? I don't have room. Yes, you should have some room if you're gonna have a dog. Also, you should have a lot of time because they take a lot of your time. It's rewarding time, but you have to remember, they take a lot of time. Look who else is here. Hello, Dave Mike. This is Valentino, the parking attendant. And this is Bison Bentley. Do you know that? Mike, May is almost over day. Yeah, May's over. Do you know that? Yes, this weekend, it's the last weekend of May. Oh, I'll probably not be doing a podcast this weekend. Maybe I may or may not. We shall see. But next show, it'll be the wonderful Chely Shoehart, Floyd the Floorman, and John Deere, the engineer. Check out that picture of Bernie Falls. That's the podcast picture. Yes, I waited to the very end because I knew I would just string you along and tease you, and you'd be waiting. And when is Mike? And you're obsessing, compulsiving, you're OCDing all the way to the end. And we could just put it all there. Encompassing. I can't come up with a word. Dang it. But anyway, we're at the end of the show. So what could be the podcast picture? Bernie Falls. Bernie Falls. And I did not take this picture. Speaking of Bernie, feeling the burn. Bernie Falls, which is east of Mount Shasta. And this picture is the first picture that I have posted ever in the history of Mike's Daily Podcast. The first podcast picture that, well, I've posted pictures I have not taken that my lovely lady friend took instead. And this picture was taken by my lovely lady friend. But she took this picture 3 years ago. And if you've been listening to this show a lot and have listened for a long time, you know that lovely lady friend and I have known each other for a little over 2 years. So yes, I did not know her 3 years ago. So she was at Bernie Falls without me. So I was not actually there when this podcast picture was taken. Overmodulating sigh. Yes, gasp. Yes. Overmodulating gasp indeed, because I was not there. Here's the big question. Who was she there with? Possibly an ex-boyfriend? He's not in this picture. And not in any of the accompanying pictures that I can see. Oh, wait, what's this cutout? Maybe he was in this cutout section. Oh, we'll never know. But Mike, you could ask her. No, we'll never know. Next show, it'll be those people I mentioned. Thank you for listening. Take it away, A-Frame.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com. Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye.
Oh, and yes, you can tell me what you think about any of the topics we covered on today's show. Give me a call at 336-MM-DAILY. That's 3 + 3 = 6. MM as in Mike Matthews, which is my name, and daily as in what this podcast has been for many, many days in a row. It's been daily. Thus the name Mike's Daily Podcast, and thus 336-MM-DAILY. And this show will try to continue to be daily, although we occasionally get interrupted. Find out more at mikesdailypodcast.com.